Hey grade 11s, I have decided to make a video going over this cost accounting worksheet which you have recently done. I'm not too sure how you felt about your marks, so hopefully this video will just explain the ins and outs of the exercise, maybe some hints, what to look for going forward. Okay, so the question paper is here in front of us. I'm going to be going through the answer bit by bit as well and just talking through various things. Okay, so here's the question. Palmview manufacturers. The information relates to Palmview manufacturers for the year ended 28th February 2019. The business makes and distributes only one type of product, namely bicycles. Required. Prepare the following accounts in the general ledger of Palmview manufacturers for the year ended 28th February 2019, and we are asked for 3 ledger accounts. Notice that the one ends in the word stock, okay, work in progress stock, so that talks about a form of trading stock. It's the form of it's being made. It hasn't finished yet and it's not raw, it is in the process. The second account was direct labor cost. Okay, so the total value of your direct labor costs, including contributions. Please remember that. Number 1.1.3, the factory overhead cost is the behind the scenes expenses relating to the factory. There is a note here that says the accounts must be properly balanced or closed off at the end of February, the last day of the financial year. And the word properly balanced means that there's going to be a carry down and brought down, and closed off means that it is closed off. There is no balance at the end of the year. Okay, so you should know which get closed off and which are balanced. Okay, all indirect materials are used only in the factory. Okay, also important to note, sometimes indirect materials are also used in the selling and distribution area or the administration area of the business. So in this case, all indirect materials are used in the factory and would be shown in factory overheads. Okay, so we go to the information now. Opening balances, we're going to definitely use some of these. So in terms of what we are required to draw up, work in progress, or progress, I should fix this spelling mistake, progress stock. Is there an opening balance for that? Let's go have a look. There it is. Work in progress stock 180,000 can be my opening balance, which will be the first line here on my debit side. Let's see if that is true. There it is. Balance brought down 160,000 and you've got your first mark in the bag. Okay. Then finished goods stock. Are we asked to draw up the finished goods stock ledger? We are not. Okay, so we need not worry about that opening balance really. Indirect materials relates to the factory and what is being used in the factory. Maybe packing materials, maybe cleaning products or whatever. So 10,000 Rand is what we started the year off with for indirect materials. So just starting a bracket here, indirect materials is going to get closed off to factory overhead cost. Okay, so just make sure what line mine is in. Mine's in the second line here, indirect materials, and you'll see I'll start by just having one figure for now. Okay, indirect materials, there it is. First figure refers to the opening balance at the start of the year, and that was 10,000. Okay, as per the opening balance there. That means that we would probably have used the 10,000 Rand this year. Okay, factory, plants and equipment, as well as accumulated depreciation, we'll get to just now when we deal with depreciation. Okay, so back to the required. We were asked to do the work in progress stock. There will always be the opening balance, if there is an opening balance, of course. And then the next 3 lines here are always standard. That line there and the next line are always going to be the same. Direct material cost, direct labor, and factory overhead. The journal would be general journal over there, but those aren't really asked here and no marks were awarded. Okay. Direct labor cost and factory overhead cost will come from their ledger accounts, which we are about to do. Direct material cost, however, there is no ledger asked for it. So let's go find out what the deal was with materials. Okay, it says, where can we find stuff on materials? Does it say anything here? Have you spotted anything relating to materials? Here it is. G. It tells you that raw materials that were issued for manufacturing during the year amount to 1.7 million. That means that when we come to the work in progress stock account, direct material cost is going to be shown there at 1.7 million. Okay. Now we can draw our attention to direct labor and factory overheads, and I'm going to start with direct labor. Okay, in the information for direct labor, we're going to go look at this information B. Okay, direct labor will not be factory foreman. It will not be salesman or cleaner. The direct labor refers to employees in the production process. So, firstly, there are 19 employees who are earning a basic monthly wage of 7,000 Rand. So if I work out the basic salary for these wage earners, it's going to be what? What would my calculation be? It's going to be, and I'm going to reveal it for you now, 19 workers times 7,000 Rand a month times 12 months gives you 1,596,000. Okay, so there would have been 2 marks in the bag for you for the basic wage. However, there's also overtime. 1,000 Rand total over, or 1,000 hours, per employee. So there are 19 employees times 1,000 overtime hours each times 40 Rand overtime price. So 19 times 1,000 times the rate of, where am I? Let's go back there again. Right, there's the calculation. 19 times 1,000 times 40 is 760,000, and there's another 2 marks. So going to our direct labor cost ledger, on the debit side, wages 2,356,000, being those two added together. That is for wages of the direct laborers. However, it goes on to say over here, look carefully, it says that all employees except the factory cleaner, okay, sorry for her or him, are registered with the business pension fund and the UIF. Okay, it's important now to notice deductions are made from the basic salary for the pension fund 7% and the UIF 1%. Guys, that is irrelevant. We do not have to make any deductions because we want the gross wage. We do not care about the deductions. However, we must add on top of the gross salary, we must add their contributions. So this sentence says that the employer contributes 8% of the basic salary towards the pension fund and 1% of the basic to the UIF. That means that 8%, watch me, I'm going to reveal these next 2 lines here, that 8% of the 1,596,000, right? What is that figure there? That figure refers to the basic. There it is, 1,596. In other words, we're not going to include the overtime amount. So 8% of the basic, 1,596, is a further 1,276.80, and the contra account there is pension contributions or pension fund contributions if you want. Then 1% of the same 1,596,000 gives you a further 15,960 for UIF contributions. Therefore, the total debit side totals up to 2499640. That's the total direct labor cost, and in total it gets closed off with an equal entry on the credit side. Where are we going to send this amount? We're going to send it to work in progress stock. Okay, so that's why the amount on the credit side is exactly the same as the amount on the debit side, and this account is now no more. We have closed it off. So if work in progress stock appears on the credit side here, it means that it is going to be where in the work in progress? It will be on the debit side of work in progress. There it is, direct labor cost, and I'm going to bring through the figure from my labor cost ledger. If your figure was wrong and you've brought it through, you would get this principal mark. But it's important for me to stress this at this point. You have to show your calculations. Right, there were some of you who did only write one figure here on the debit side of direct labor. You just wrote one figure. And if it's wrong, you lose all your marks. There are 2, 4, 5, 6 marks for this debit side of direct labor. 6 marks. Had you shown a calculation or shown the amounts separately, you could have stood a chance to maybe get 5 out of 6 or 4 out of 6. But if you showed one figure and got it wrong, you would have got 0 out of 6. So please show your calculations when it comes to stuff that needs to be worked out. Okay, then we move back to work in progress, and we've pretty much worked out most things now. All these have been worked out, except for this missing factory overhead cost amount. So to work it out, we're going to go to factory overheads, and we're going to fill in this ledger account. Remember, this relates to all the behind-the-scenes factory expenses. So back to the information. While we are here in information B, factory foreman, let's deal with him. He is a worker in the factory, but not directly making the products. So there are two factory foremen earning a monthly wage of 8,500. So your salaries of your factory foreman would be what calculation? 2 times 8,500 times 12, right? Because there are 12 months in a year. So here we go. Watch my calculation unravel or unfold here. Okay, there we go. Salaries, foreman, 2 people times 8,500 Rand a month times 12 months gives you 204,000. Okay, however, there's more to the puzzle. We are also told what? That the factory foreman earned 400 or did 400 overtime hours each and 45 Rand per hour. So there's a further calculation to this block. 400 times 2 times 45 is another 36. So the total gross wages for or salaries for the foreman would be 240, being the 204 and the 36. Great. Also, so we've dealt with this line over here with the foreman. Then we deal with the salesman. Is the salesman a factory expense? No, ignore it. The cleaner, it tells you that the cleaner is the factory cleaner. So this person earns 3,000 Rand a month. So 3,000 times 12 months will give you 36,000 Rand for the factory cleaner. Okay, the factory cleaner, it does say here though, that the factory cleaner, where are we? Here, look carefully. The cleaner spends 75% of his time cleaning the factory. So let's just pause there. The cleaner earns 36,000 Rand for the year, but only 75% must go to factory overheads. So watch my calculation carefully here. Let's see. Indirect labor, which we're talking about the cleaner here, right? Okay. 3, as in 3,000 Rand, times 12 months gives you 36,000, or 36,000, and times 75% will leave you with 27,000 Rand, and that's how much goes to factory overheads. Then, what else does it say here that we can use? All employees in the production process work overtime. Okay, we've dealt with that. Employees' benefits are allocated according to the... Okay, we're fine there. We've dealt with this one. Okay, here we go. Point number C. Factory maintenance paid to date amounted to 70,000 Rand, and a further amount of 2,000 Rand is owed for February for repairs done on the machine. So in total, these two together give you 72,000 Rand for maintenance in the factory. If you had split it up, 70,000 maintenance and 2,000 Rand repairs, same thing really, but my memo is just simply going to have 72,000 Rand, here we go, for maintenance. You'll see it's going to be revealed over there. Okay, we need to reverse back a little bit. We have forgotten, or I have forgotten, to talk about the contributions for the factory foreman and maybe the cleaner. What does it say here? All employees except the factory cleaner are registered with the business for pension fund and UIF. So the cleaner will not get the contributions. Okay. However, the factory foreman must have contributions. So let's go back to the salary of the factory foreman. The factory foreman got 204,000 Rand basic and 36,000 overtime. Right? So when we work out the 8% and the 1% for the pension and the UIF, it's going to be based on the 204,000. Okay, so you're going to have a further 16,320 for pension contributions and UIF another 2,040. Once again, I have to stress this important point. What point? You have to once again show your calculations. Right? You have got quite a few figures here that relate to indirect labor. You have got that figure is indirect labor. and these 3 figures are also indirect labor. If you had written 4 figures together as one figure and it was wrong, you would have got no marks. And notice how many marks are here for these 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 marks. So a lot of you wrote one figure and got maybe 1 out of 10. You have to show your figures, your calculations. If they don't give you the space, draw an arrow outwards and write your calculations at the bottom somewhere. Okay, so those are very, very, very important. Going back to the question, we are now at information D. Electricity and water paid for the financial year totaled 60,000 and 10% must be allocated to the admin office. The factory uses the rest. So when we come here to the factory overhead account, it means that electricity and water, or water and electricity over there, 60,000 times 90%, 54,000. That's pretty simple. Okay. Number E. The following accounts appeared in the general ledger at the end of February. Rent expense 144,000, insurance 40,000, and then it tells you rent and insurance are allocated between factory and admin according to the floor space used. The factory uses 690 square meters while the office uses 310 square meters of the premises. Think carefully. That means in total, how many square meters are there? There would be 1,000. So the factory uses 69 out of 1,000. In other words, 69% of the premises is used by the factory. So both the rent and insurance will receive 69% of the total. Okay, so there is, where are we? We're going to have rent expense there, and we've got insurance over there, and those are both, there we go, 69% of what they were, and we've got those 2 figures as well. Okay, moving on. We have got the next adjustment now, which says indirect materials for the factory bought during the year was 22,500. We have already mentioned indirect materials when we had an opening balance, right? Here, indirect materials had an opening balance of 10,000. On top of that, I'm now going to add 22,500 because I've bought more indirect materials. But have we used all 32,500 now? No. How come? If we look towards the end of the information here, indirect materials ended the year with still 15,000 Rand indirect material on hand. We haven't used it. So we are now able to minus 15,000 from this calculation, meaning that the total indirect material we've used in this year would be 17,500. 10 plus 22.5 minus 15 gives you 17.5. Some of you just wrote 22.5. Okay, so please take note of that, a very popular calculation. Right, moving on. We have got, what else? H, depreciation on the factory plant and machinery for the year was 360,000. So nothing really to do here. It would mean that simply we put 360,000 Rand depreciation on the debit side of factory overhead cost. Okay, there's no need to calculate it. It was done for you. Okay, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here. Something that you would have to notice. Oh, this is a goodie. Look carefully. At our opening balances of the year, we had factory plant and equipment at 1.8 and accumulated at 1.2. That means our book value was 600,000. So we have depreciated this year 360,000, right? So are we allowed to depreciate all of it? Yes, we are allowed to. If this figure here was like 700,000, right? That would have meant that we could not depreciate the full 700,000 because the book value was only 600,000. We would only have been able to depreciate up to 5,999 or something, so that the book value ended up being 1. Okay, so that's just an important thing to notice. You can't depreciate more than the cost price. So just park that thought for maybe an exercise in the future. Okay, so your debit side of factory overhead is complete. There's nothing else to go on the debit side. So that means you would total the debit side, and my total is on the next page, sadly. So there is the total. It totals up to 915,820. So you would put that total on the credit side as well, 915,820, and you would have to close this account off. Where do you close factory overheads off to? To work in progress stock, 915,820. Okay, so you are entirely done with factory overheads, and you would take that 915 to the debit side of work in progress. Okay, that means your total of your debit side of work in progress was that. You would go put it on the credit side. Then a lot of you made a mistake here. You've always got two lines reserved here in the work in progress. The one is going to be for what? Finished goods stock, and the other one is going to be for the balance carried down. You will always be given one of them, and you have to work out the other one as a balancing figure. From your last bit of your information, you were told that work in progress stock at the end of the year was 275,460. So I can go put my 275,460 over there. That means it's going to be brought down at the start of the next year over there. So the balancing figure is therefore this amount here for finished goods. And that ends up being a round amount of 5 million rand. Okay, so for those of you who didn't get this figure, you have to first put the balance in there of 275,460 and then leave that as your balancing figure of 5 million. Okay, so very important to note how we got that 5 million. And we're done with the ledger accounts. Okay, nothing really new there. You have done similar ones like this, so hopefully you followed my explanations. Okay, there are the ledgers. We then go to the more theory questions now, and we go back to the questions. It says, H2O Africa is a manufacturing business situated in Paddock. They produce and sell bottled water. The business produced and sold 31,000 units of bottled water for the year ended 30th of June 2019. Required. Calculate the direct material cost per unit for the year ended 30th of June 2019. Okay, so direct material cost per unit is what we are after here. We then need to find the total direct materials and divide it by the number of items that were made. So direct material cost was given there as 158,100 divided by how many units did we make? Right? What does it say here? We made 31,000. So going back to my answers here, we simply, and I think all of you got this right, are going to say 158,100 divided by 31,000 is 5 Rand 10. Part 2 says calculate the break-even point for the year. Very important calculation. What is the formula for the break-even point? Fixed costs divided by selling price per unit minus variable costs per unit. So let's go find the fixed costs. Fixed costs given in this table, excuse the bell, was 179,800. There we go. That's our numerator in our answer. There it is. The denominator is your selling price. There it is, 14 Rand 50, right? Minus variable costs. There it is, 8 Rand 50. That is my denominator. There it is. So now we're going to work out our break-even point, and we might have to round it off. Let's have a look. That works out to be, wait for it. Where's my break-even point? Okay, your break-even point, I'll have to type it in here maybe for you. Let's see. Okay, it is 29967 units. If the answer, by the way, was 966,67, you would have to round it up to 967 units. Okay. Then point 1, point 2, point 3, should the business be satisfied? Simply, guys, and this is going to be easy going forward, all you need to say is yes, because they have produced 31,000 units, which is 1,033 units more than the break-even point. Okay, some of you went into a bit more detail and you said maybe not satisfied because they haven't broke even by much. That's fine too, but that is the basic answer going forward. Yes, they've broken even, they would be happy. The last part of the question says the direct materials cost per unit for the year ended 30th of June 2018, which was last year, was 3 Rand 80. Remember, this year was 5 Rand 10. The owner, Colin Mbesuma, feels that in order to make more profit, he will have to reduce the quantity filled in each bottle by 5%, but keep the selling price the same. Should he carry on with the plan, Give 2 valid reasons for your answer. Okay, this is unethical. So your answer here, no, he should not do this. It's unethical product shrinkage. Okay, so we're keeping the price the same, but we're giving them less. So we may lose many customers in the future. Products may be removed from the shelves by relevant authorities if the product does not correspond with specifications marked on the container. Okay, yeah, so if they still say it's whatever, a liter, and actually it's not, we're going to get caught out. Okay, so that was the end of your activity. I hope this video assists you, in particular when it comes to the direct labor and indirect labor. Please show your calculations. Right, we'll chat again soon.